Grant Frederick Timmerman was born in Americus, Kansas on 19 February 1919. Educated in the public schools of Emporia, he was a 1936 graduate of Emporia High School. He played the saxophone in high school band for 2 years, enjoyed hunting small game, and read, wrote, and spoke both French and Russian. He attended Kansas State Teachers College in Emporia for 1 year, where he took a pre-engineering course. In the summer of 1937, he went to California and worked as an electric welder at San Mateo, California. Timmerman enlists in the United States Marine Corps in San Francisco on 28 October 1937 and completes United States Marine Corps Recruit Training at San Diego. His first assignment is at the Puget Sound Navy Yard in Bremerton, Washington. After a few weeks' duty there, Private Timmerman relocates to Mare Island Naval Shipyard, California, where he boards the old China transport USS Henderson. Timmerman crosses the 180th Meridian on 10 April 1938, is duly initiated into the Imperial Domain of the Golden Dragon, and arrives in Wusong, China on 5 May 1938. Assigned to the Motor Transport Company of the 4th Marine Regiment, Private Timmerman served as a truck driver and as a motorcycle dispatch rider. Once in Shanghai, he and another Marine observed a white woman surrounded by a crowd of menacing Chinese. Immediately, he and his comrade dispersed the angry crowd and stood by until a policeman is summoned. The woman turned out to be the wife of a U.S. Navy commander. A letter of commendation and appreciation from the commander are added to Timmerman's record book. In July 1940, Timmerman is promoted to private first class. When the usual 18-month tour of duty is completed, PFC Timmerman requests that his tour be extended. His request is granted, and it is 33 months in all before he sets foot on the California shore again. Returning to Mare Island on April 1941, he is given duty at the Naval Prison there and stays at the post until his discharge at the completion of his 4-year enlistment on 27 October 1941. He returns to electric welding and lands a job at the shipyard of the Bethlehem Steel Corporation in San Francisco, welding electrical fixtures and armor plates on destroyers. After 5 weeks of civilian life, the Empire of Japanese attacks Pearl Harbor, and in February 1942, Timmerman reenlists and is reappointed to his old rank of private first class. Since he had only been out of the Marine Corps for 4 months, the 23-year-old China Marine is not required to repeat basic training, but is immediately sent to the transport company at the Marine Corps base at San Diego. 5 weeks later, Timmerman is assigned to San Francisco as a clerk in the office of the Commanding General of the Department of the Pacific, where he stays 2 months. Next assigned to the 2nd Tank Battalion, 2nd Marine Division, he is promoted to corporal in July. He is advanced to sergeant in October, and in November is once more on his way overseas. His battalion sails for Wellington, New Zealand, and when he crosses the equator, Sergeant Timmerman is initiated in the realm of King Neptunus Rex, no longer a slimy pollywog, but an honorable shellback. After a period of intensive training in Wellington, the 2nd Marine Division makes their landing on Tarawa, Gilbert Islands, on 20 November 1943. However, it is 2 days later that Sergeant Timmerman comes in with the tanks. In December, the division heads to Hawaii for rest and more training, and in May 1944, leaves for another combat mission, the last for Timmerman. Timmerman lands on Saipan on D-Day, 6 June 1944, and on 28 June sustains a slight shrapnel wound in the right arm. A few days later, on 8 July, Sergeant Timmerman's tank, of which he is tank commander, is advancing a few yards ahead of the infantry when the attack is held up by a series of Japanese pillboxes and trenches. The sergeant is firing the tank's anti-aircraft gun during the vigorous attack, but when progress is halted, he prepares to fire the 75mm gun. Exposing himself to the enemy, he stands up in the open turret of his tank to warn the infantry to hit the deck because of the muzzle blast of the 75mm. A Japanese grenade comes hurtling through the air, aimed in the direction of the open turret. Sergeant Timmerman fearlessly covers the opening with his own body to prevent the grenade from killing his crew, and the grenade explodes on his chest, killing him instantly. Although 2 members of the crew receive slight wounds from the grenade, none are killed, all the larger fragments being taken by Timmerman. For his heroic and selfless act of courage, his country bestows its highest honor upon him, the Medal of Honor. The medal and also a Bronze Star earned earlier in the Saipan campaign are presented to his parents on 8 July 1945, the first anniversary of his death, in their home by Colonel Norman E. True of the Marine Barracks in Great Lakes, Illinois. This quiet, informal presentation is made at the request of the Marine's mother. Initially buried in the 2nd Marine Division Cemetery on Saipan, Mare Island, Sergeant Grant Timmerman is later reinterred in the National Cemetery of the Pacific in Honolulu, Hawaii. In January 1946, the U.S. Navy names one of its new Gearing-class destroyers after Staff Sergeant Timmerman. The USS Timmerman, DD-828, is christened by his mother. His Medal of Honor citation reads as follows. The President of the United States of America, in the name of Congress, takes pride in presenting the Medal of Honor posthumously to Sergeant Grant Frederick Timmerman, United States Marine Corps, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty as tank commander, serving with the 2nd Battalion, 6th Marines, 2nd Marine Division during action against enemy Japanese forces on Saipan, Marianas Islands on 8 July 1944. Advancing with his tank a few yards ahead of the infantry in support of a vigorous attack on hostile positions, Sergeant Timmerman maintained steady fire from his anti-aircraft sky mount machine gun until progress was impeded by a series of enemy trenches and pillboxes. Observing a target of opportunity, he immediately ordered the tank stopped, and mindful of the danger of the muzzle blast as he prepared to open fire with the 75mm, fearlessly stood up in the exposed turret and ordered the infantry to hit the deck. Quick to act as a grenade, hurled by the Japanese, was about to drop into the open turret hatch. Sergeant Timmerman unhesitatingly blocked the opening with his body, holding the grenade against his chest and taking the brunt of the explosion. His exceptional valor and loyalty in saving his men at the cost of his own life inflict the highest credit upon Sergeant Timmerman and the United States Naval Service. He gallantly gave his life in the service of his country. Signed, Harry S. Truman. As always, stay salty, devils, stay safe, Semper Fi, and carry on.